So let's see. We were doing the house after the flood, which I have not yet finished. I was a little early. Normally I wait till 9:05, but like I said, I'm not expecting a big, full room today. Especially since, I gave them so much entertainment yesterday. People have got to be tired of me by now. So what are you guys doing? Almost dodged out before it was fully done. That's not good. Would you have to make the belly full? Oh, nice. What did you guys munch on today? I had Popeye's chicken pork steaks. Oh, yeah. We weren't feeling up to cooking today, so we did Popeye's chicken. Oh, beans and cornbread. Oh man, I miss cornbread. Of all the things corn that I could miss, that is what I miss the most. And every alternative just is not the same. Question mark what? Yes, I can't have it. It messes me up something bad, man. Like if I eat like corn on the cob or something like that, feels like I'm trying to digest lead. It hurts. If I drink something with corn syrup in it, it's like I'm drunk. Um, if I do um, like corn starch, it makes me angry. Like various different like versions of corn have various different effects on me, but none of them are good. Yeah, I know I've told you guys this before that corn and me, I can, okay, I can have little bits at a time as long as it's just small amounts. But for the most part, I can't have it at all. My audio on it, okay, the game. Oh, I bet you I turned off the audio in the game a long time ago. Ba 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 ba. Ba ba ba. Like nothing is doing anything. It's just me. Yeah, and after looking at the revenue for the ads, I turned them all the way down. Oh my god. Yeah, cornbread. Oh, cornbread stuffing. Using corn. Like I miss it. I miss it to a certain degree. But I would say cornbread is the one that I miss the most. Oh, that is weird. Little issue with the visuals, huh? You guys see that? That the plaster shows through the window, but if I shut the door, it goes away. That's funny. So, oh yeah, I was doing classics. So we have kind of the Eden Diner here, but they didn't have like a table. So let's, no, not that. Here. So what do y'all think? What are y'all thinking? All both of you. table should I use? I want to use like a narrow wood beech. Will that kind of match this? Oh, that's almost perfect. Go like that. Heck yeah. So what are you guys thinking? Anything new? And you guys watched me try to turn on the sound, and I still don't have any sound. Are you guys hearing any sound? You guys are hearing my voice, but you're not hearing anything from the game at all, right? What? Audio? Oh. There we go. Leave the ambience down. You know, just a little something. I hope the music's royalty free. I don't know. Oh well, if I screwed up, I screwed up. Not just chairs. Go with a regular wooden. Do we want something with a little padding? I think the Paxton's a nice choice. Right. Yeah, I was thinking of oval for the coffee table. That might work pretty good. But coffee tables are also slightly different. That looks too fancy. I mean, just like these are way too fancy. Let's see. That's kind of nice. Can I get it in a beach? No. American elm would work, but so would spruce, and I think spruce is closest to matching. Yeah, and both of you guys are subscribed, so I don't have to worry about the ad. Go light blue? No. Let's go with a more neutral color to fit the rest. You know, I try to make things match. Beige? That? You sure? Because that seems to blend too much. Why are you saying you must be the most boring people ever? I mean, yes, it all matches, but you want a little clash. Or let's see, there's a how pastel rose is it? That might actually work. Well, yeah, I mean, you know, it is what it is, man. I mean, I'm not huge on the 4th. I think people shouldn't have access to fireworks. And I know that's a controversial opinion, but I think the average person shouldn't have access to fireworks. I mean, they're, one, irresponsible about it. With how many close calls I've had in my life with idiots in their friggin' fireworks. Watched one guy launch a friggin' mortar shell directly underneath of his car. It almost blew up underneath his car. If it had blown up just a split second sooner, it would have. And he did it on purpose. So, I mean, it's just like, and I know it's controversial, and I know people, you know, don't like that I would say that, but me personally, it's like people have proven to be really bad at handling fireworks. I think that'd look actually really cool, even though it's not technically in the same set. Ooh, whoa, too rich of a blue. And that's not light enough. It's not pastel enough. It clashes too much. So, I think this is actually time for that beige. Yeah. I just realized why the dang music is so quiet for me, because I'm an idiot. And why I couldn't hear Jack through my headphones. I had my other speaker on. Well, I mean, it's not the only reason, and I forgot to reset. Anyway. Thank you for the jump scare, by the way. I think that's better. The gray with that blue almost matches.
Amazing. Mission complete. That right there is why you're the best, boss.
Okay. Thank you for telling me I had it good. So it was light gray and beach. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's because the leather is only one use, whereas the tools are multi-use. At least that's their justification for it. Perfect there. If I remember right, there is, yep. I think I need a 75. 50 might do. Okay, never mind. Okay. Light gray beach. That'd work, right? Yeah, it's one of the things that, like, getting into a hobby like leatherworking and stuff like that, it's always more expensive to get the tools. Wait, it actually... Okay, I don't see any difference, but... It's like when you get into doing models, you know, like, plastic models, like cars and stuff like that. The kits for those are really friggin' or not the kits. Okay, it won't work. Okay, they have them there. Not the kits, but the But yeah, I mean, I know what you mean. Sorry, apparently I can't really think about what I'm trying to say. The tools are always more expensive than the item. Okay. Do we have a slightly wider one? Well, my brain is a little fried from yesterday. I will say that, but also the weather really kicked my butt. Okay, now the music's a little too intrusive. Oh, I'm fine right now. I mean, I knew what you meant. It was either that or else you wanted me to cry on stream, but it's I don't feel that. My brain's just, you know, a little out of it. Oh, much better. No, like I said, I'm not that bad. I might be a little distracted, but I mean, and who knows, maybe later I will cut stream early, but I doubt it. I mean, if I'm just sitting here talking with you guys, I mean, that makes it so much easier for me. You know, you guys can ask me questions, you know, get me talking. You know, anything on your mind? Anything you guys have been wanting to talk about lately? I mean, I missed Thursday, and I'm probably going to be missing Thursday for a while, which sucks, but it's the only time Ghost and I can get together to do the Pow World stream. Sup, Infinite? No, I think that's good. Yeah, we'll keep it that. You know, I figured, you know, like I said, this being July 4th, most people wouldn't be in. So I could just sit here and jabber away while I'm goofing off. And I don't blame people, it's a freaking holiday. I know that feeling. I do know that feeling. How big is this? Okay, it's not that big. You know, the hard thing is this is a tiny house. So I have to be careful. Yes, happy 4th. Ah, the boss battle soon. Ooh. Prepare to meet thy maker. What's up? Wow, how did you know, Gossip? How did you know? I honestly wasn't expecting, you know, people really to show up. But I have a schedule and I'm trying to stick to it. I mean, it's a freaking holiday, so, you know, for those that are just coming in, happy holiday, happy 4th of July. The birthday of the most schizophrenic country on the planet. And that's all the, like, I'm gonna say about it for the moment. Gotta gauge the audience, you know. How far do I go? How bad do I make it? You know, what do I say? How bad do I make it? Sparkle Fang Tribe. Frogamoth? Sup, Ninetale? Wow, more people are showing up than I expected. Well, they call it democracy. Okay. So that is something I've been meaning to talk about. My thoughts on what we call democracy is a joke. I believe we should have a true representative democracy. And this might be counterintuitive, but I think it might be best for everybody if we actually take the ability to vote from the average person. Like I said, this might sound counterintuitive. And I actually have thought processes behind this. Because, and I don't mean fully take the vote away from people, but I think people need to vote for a person at a region. You know, much like we have state representatives or something, but I think we need to bring it even closer. Like you vote for your mayor, but your mayor actually votes for who's, you know, leadership in the county. Because let's be frank, I don't know who a good president would be. And it's been proven time and time again, and I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, that neither does the American people. We have no idea who a good president would be. You know, we keep getting people that are supposed to be good for us or have our best interests at heart, and it always ends up being screwed up. That way, if the burglar comes in from the door, they trip over that and let everybody know they're there. Broke alarm systems. And I mean by that is, if you're broke, you know how to do homemade alarm systems. And like I said, I know it sounds counterintuitive, but I think that having people vote for somebody that they can hold accountable in their own area, their own community, that's more important than trying to hold a congressperson accountable who has thousands, sometimes millions of people that they have to worry about. You're one drop in an ocean. Whereas if they're in your own region, your own little like neighborhood, like even if it's neighborhood representatives, you know this person personally. You can walk up to them and go, hey, why isn't this happening? You said this would be happening. You know, you could actually have a town hall that actually would mean something. Well, in my experience, Rando, your advice is actually pretty concise and straightforward rather than overwhelming, at least in my experience with it. I forgot to put lights up. I hope what I was saying would make sense. I don't have to worry about smoke alarms. I mean, I can put them in, but it's just an extra expense that doesn't add anything. Too bright. Yeah, that's an ornate chandelier. How is that an ornate chandelier? It's a bowl on a string, upside down. Nice. Well, I also know, editing your writing can feel overwhelming. Oh, yeah. It's also overwhelming when it's the first time you've had a professional look at your work. Or somebody that takes it seriously and is just trying to do right by you as, client to, professional viewpoint. If I'm making sense. Not to insert myself in, the conversation. Yeah, that's pretty good lighting down here. Let's see. This is all on one. Right. Like, I remember the first time I had a professional, and this is years and years ago. I've been out of practice, like I told you, Rando. When I had a professional look at my stuff. Oh, yeah. But see, we also give them too much power by having so many people they look at. And it really kind of woke me up to that idea, was looking at how influencers lose their minds. You know, and they have a fraction of the power. They have a fraction of everything. I mean, that would be like me going, aha, you know, I'm famous. I'm this. No, it's like, I've got a community. That's all that really matters. And when you can narrow it down to a community that you're beholden to, well, I always liked this one. I think that's super important to understand, that it's your community. LJ wouldn't let me get away with that. It's off center. There we go. And see, there's a smoke alarm. I left one up. And when you can make it to the point where it's somebody looking at their own community and finding out what to do, how to help. It makes it a lot easier. It brings the problem into perspective to where you can actually do something about it rather than being overwhelming and just listening to the money, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm getting my point across about how having a system that's so much further down, you know, trimmed down in this. But I think ultimately it would be for the best. Oh, okay. Yeah, we got that far. Still think I need one ceiling lamp. One or two. Actually, I know exactly which two I'll use. Because it's a, you know, entertainment space. You don't want a whole lot of light. You want it more indirect. You know, you're making it more personal. These are personal people you're dealing with. You know, that way you can look at these wider problems that we have. And we have quite a few. Wait, I have. That we can't deny that we have. I mean, and I don't have the solution. I talk a good game. You know, I talk about, you know, what I think would be good. But again, you know, I don't really have a dog in that fight. I'm not the one experiencing any of that. You know, I don't have to worry about how people are going to treat my family members because of their skin color, because I'm white. So it makes it difficult for me to understand the problem. But I do know that people in my community have been affected by that. And as much as I try to understand and look for it, I'll probably still put my foot in my mouth. It's easy for me to say, I want people to just ignore somebody's color. You know, color of skin, you know, their background culture, and just treat them as them. You know, as a person, as a human. You know, that to me is more important than anything else. You know, this is gonna sound weird, but I personally don't care what your background is. I don't care where you come from. I care how you act now, who you are. You know, if that makes sense. How do you treat the people I know? How do you treat my area? And in my experience, it's been relatively good. On one hand, but how... So I know this is probably delicate, but see, here's my problem. I used to work with Oh yeah. Yes, there is. There is. In fact, there's also chalkboard paint too. And you can also use, here's another thing for people that like to cook, Green Jeans. You can use that paint as a countertop. It's actually sealed so it can be food grade. And you can actually write out lists on it. But I have seen how immigrants get abused by corporations. And that pisses me off like nothing else. I worked with a couple of guys that never got paid for overtime because they were afraid to take it to anybody. They were even afraid to complain. So they never got paid for overtime. And I mean, it's a perfectly valid reason to be afraid. I have the freedom that I can say something, so I did, and I got fired for it. You know, I have no problem speaking my mind. And I know it's really difficult times we live in to for people to speak their mind. They have valid reasons to be afraid. People get very divisive, very violent. And I mean, I'm perfectly willing, if I'm wrong, please tell me, talk to me about it. I want to be educated, right? Unfortunately, I rent, so I can't do that. No, not that. You know, and it's one of the reasons why I think we very much need some kind of immigration reform. Because we have this stereotype of who the immigrants are. You know, it's like, and that's not who they really are. You know, everybody says, oh, you know, Hispanics. It's like, well, actually, the largest immigrant population, last I knew, is mostly Southeast Asians. My cheek, bro, how could you find my cheekbones? I got, you know, square face, square and round. You know, it's like I know I don't have all the answers. I mean, that's the thing. Is yes, I know. I'm perfectly aware that I have plenty of shortfalls because there's a lot of things I haven't experienced in life. But I also realize I've experienced a lot more than a lot of people have. You know, I've traveled afar. I know that most other countries are America adjacent. You know, and that's what I was trying to tell LJ that one night, was just understanding that America looks like it has no culture because we've exported our culture to the point where it looks so generic. That to everybody else is like, oh, that's just ubiquitous. You know, everybody has that. Well, now, you know, McDonald's, Coke, Blue Jeans. LJ? Yeah. Yeah, LJ's from Britain. I found that out because Ghost was playing a game called Atomfall, the demo for it. And LJ's all like, hey, that's where I work. Where they set the game. And I thought that was funny. And I think when it comes to immigration and stuff, I think we need to talk a lot more about it. And not in a rude, not in a confrontational way, but like, what is everybody's experience? You know, my experience with being an American is vastly different than that of somebody who's an immigrant. Let's go with this first. Not yellow, I want cream. Leave the details gray. And now, yep, see, told you, cream. But I also want to add a splash of color to the exterior. I don't think it should be a matter of waiting. I think it should be a matter of demonstration. Is that the one that goes inside? I want the one that goes outside. Is that this one? Okay, good. I think it should be more a matter of, just like it should be, is just a matter of demonstration of ability to understand what it means to be a citizen. I think it should just be a matter of, you know, the citizenship classes. And I think even regular Americans should go through it. I think that should be part of our education system, is knowing our rights. Yes, that is exactly what I mean. I also think we need to do a lot more about unifying what it means to be an American, rather than, oh, I'm a Californian, oh, I'm a New Yorker, oh, I'm a, you know, America is literally just divides itself into 50 different countries, which some countries, you know, like to talk together. But I honestly think that we need to do more for unifying ourselves so that we have an idea of who we should be. See, and I think that's BS. It shouldn't be 7 years. It shouldn't be anything like that. You know, that's what I mean by immigration reform. You know, I mean, one, America is already one of the easiest countries to become a citizen of, but also at once, also one of the hardest. You know, it's like our requirements to be a citizen are very easy compared to other countries, or at least what I've looked at when I've tried to. Because a few years ago, I was looking at immigrating to another country because I just didn't want to be here anymore. And then I found out I was too old. Both the two countries I wanted to go to have a cutoff of 45. Well, again, yeah, I mean, it also depends on what you consider very simple things. I mean, you know, one, America doesn't have a set language, which a lot of people bitch at. You know, it's like, oh, you come to America, you should learn English. It's like, well, maybe America should have, but popcorn's not necessary. That should just be part of experiencing what your new country is. You know, but the way I see it, you know, popcorn's not necessary to know to be a citizen of the United States. I'm more curious on, you know, if they're going to get a driver's license. You know, do they know the rules of the road? Yeah, that should work. Or just basic laws like, oh, hey, you know, since you're going to be a citizen of the United States, maybe you should know that, overtime is a thing and this is what it means. And if you're not getting it, it's illegal. Well, okay, I understand that, but I mean, you got to understand that in America, we have access to so many different things that other countries don't. We have access to so many different cultures' foods, and we can just go down and buy them. It's not something special to go. Oh, okay. For me, it is. It's something special to go to like a Mexican restaurant or go to a Korean restaurant or go to, insert ethnic food here. But we can also buy that from our stores. Sure, it might be a little bit harder to get in certain places. But I mean, at Walmart, you can buy kimchi. And Walmarts are everywhere. But you go to another country, I mean, even Britain, you most likely won't find a whole lot of the foods that we take for granted. Like ranch, apparently. They have no idea what ranch dressing is, or even ranch flavor. I mean, I'm sure they do kind of now, but it's like a curiosity. Or what was the other thing? Root beer? Like they don't have no idea what root beer is? Oh, medieval king. See, while I get what you're saying, the average American has more food options than the average of any other country. I mean, keep in mind, there was a time period where, I can't remember which country it was, where hot dogs were seen as a delicacy. And I'm not talking like bratwurst and what, I'm talking run-of-the-mill Oscar Mayer, what we would consider like generic hot dog. And they see that as a specialty. And we take it for granted, and a lot of people say Americans don't have culture. It's just like, no, we just export our culture. Food is a culture. In fact, food, like, I think Rando was saying that. Oh God, Rando, that is very important right there. It's like, oh, speak the language. Like, excuse me? I don't even know. And I've read more than most people. There's probably a good 20% of words in the English language, and I'm probably underestimating, that I don't know. Yeah. See, and that's the problem is that we get hung up on the politics of certain things. It's like, all I care about is, can the person pass a rudimentary background check? Basic background check. That's all that matters. We have a justice system that can take care of the rest. Okay. If they screw up. Oh, did I not? No, I did unscrew it all. Did I just make it too tight? Okay. And I totally agree. We need to get through the backlog. That's important. Because we do need more. We need more citizens to help us. And I probably should, actually do this part for it. Not bathtub. I am full well ready to get 50% of my paycheck taken away if it means that the services that I get from my government are better. And I know a lot of people would scream and cry about that statement right now. And all I got to say is suck it up, Buttercup. We live in a country where half of our roads are so potholed they're not worth driving down, where private companies come in and make toll roads that you pay for the rest of your life. You know, it's like, oh, it's only temporary until we pay off the road. Oh, but then we have to do this, this, and this. I left this one undone. You know, and then it's, oh, now you pay the toll for maintenance. And what, our tolls are up to average about what, $20 a ride now? Depending on how far you're going? I know in Washington the tolls were getting ridiculous. Yeah, I totally agree. We have a transportation system. Why aren't we using it? You know, oh, it's too expensive for roads. Then maybe you should think about that when you're making the roads. You know, you want to reduce the cost of roads? You want to know a simple way to reduce the cost of maintaining roads? Remove the cars from them. How do you remove the cars from them? Why don't we actually make a driver's license harder to get? Oh, but then how will people get back and forth to work? Mass transit. Actually make it worthwhile. You know, actually make the American people more available to get back and forth to work. You know, even with a small upset. You know, I mean, we don't even really have reliable transportation between cities. You know, for the mass transit. That seems ridiculous to me. How do we not have reliable transportation? You know, if I live in X city and I need to go to B city, wow, yeah, you know what I mean. And my car breaks down, I lose my job. Because there's no reliable way to get back and forth. I meant to hit 6. Right. Except for that's illegal. Nine Tails, did you realize that? Do you know how they got around that? In some places, gated communities, the most fucked up place, in my personal opinion. Gated damn communities. So they actually make you pay those HOA fees. Yes. To privately invest in the city is illegal. Now, there's ways around that, obviously. But you can't dictate where the money goes. You invest in the city, you can't just invest and say, okay, get my street fixed. What you can do is invest in the city and then say, hey, if my street happens to get fixed, that'd be great. But you can't even hire a road crew yourself to fix the city. Yes, you can give it to a foundation that's run by the city to squander your money because you can't really directly invest. You know, that's the problem, is you can't directly invest in your own city. There's also money funds that you can invest in your state, which a lot of people don't realize that you can actually get paid by your own state if you invest properly. I remember looking into that and I thought that was ridiculous. That if I wanted to fix a pothole myself, I couldn't. Really? You're telling me I can't? All right. Put it over the toilet. Talking about that's under heating. Yeah, you can donate it to some fund or some city councilman that says they're going to fix the city. Good idea. Some people just may not have thoughts on it. Or maybe they just didn't want to have a serious conversation. That's fine. I'm aware that sometimes when I talk, people sit there and listen, but they don't necessarily say anything. I've actually learned to be okay with that. You're okay, Tiro. Unless somebody says otherwise. That close. It's close, but I need it a little darker. Yeah, so you can wing your head on it. You know what? I'm just going to go with the easier to do one. Tiro, at this point, I'm not going to cater myself to a certain audience. I will just talk. If people like it, they like it, they'll stick. If they don't, they don't. I mean, there's not much I can do about that. And I realize, trying to, go through gymnastics. But I'm not afraid of talking about politics and religion. I know those are like the verboten subjects. You're not supposed to talk about them. But if we don't, nobody will. How are we ever going to come to a consensus if we're absolutely terrified about talking about it? How are we ever going to understand somebody else if we can't talk about it? If we can't talk about it, how will we ever understand each other? That just doesn't seem fair to anybody. Yeah, and I know a lot of content creators do. Yes, I would rather have more information because I know I'm ignorant of a lot of things. I mean, every time I've been accused of being racist, it was through ignorance, not through intent. Ever. I mean, I was never raised to be racist. I just didn't realize my dad was. Until I brought home a girlfriend that was a different color than me. It wasn't just, race just wasn't something that was talked about, so I never thought about it. I literally do not think about someone's race. Well, okay, I also don't believe in race. I think that's a friggin' stupid concept. Okay. I'm just trying to also say that if I ever say anything that offends somebody, please tell me. Because I know I still have ignorance. I'm willing to be educated. I am both a high school and college dropout. I did get my GED, but, so I know there's a lot of things I don't know. There's a lot of gaps in my knowledge that I just don't have, but I also know that I experienced a lot in my life that most people don't. You know, I've been the minority in school. How bright is that? Okay, that's perfect. Which I know a lot of people haven't experienced. Well, no, see, it's actually even worse than that, Rando. By sticking their head in the sand, they're allowing people to exploit others. That's my problem with it. And I'm not calling anybody in here. You know, I realize, you know, that education is important. Being educated on a topic and knowing what you're talking about. But my only way of doing that is actually talking with people and figuring it out. Because anytime I try to talk to like political scientists or anything like that, I realize their bias and their ignorance go hand in hand. And it's just, it infuriates me because they've never experienced half of the crap that they're talking about. They're like, oh, we need to be nicer to the immigrants because of this, this, and this. And so we have to let, you know, these people who are illegal, you know, have, you know, in, not realizing that companies are going to exploit them because they are illegal, so they can't tell anybody what's wrong. You know, I've literally experienced that. That's what I was meaning is that that's why I think we need to do some reform on how we look at this. You know, and it doesn't help to sit there and say, oh, they're just undocumented. Well, it's technically illegal to be undocumented. It's also, I wish people would understand that the whole reason why America works under the civil suit against undocumented or illegal immigration is as a nicety. It is criminal. No, we do that as a nicety. It is actually a federal crime. No, it is a criminal. We can prosecute as a criminal offense. We choose not to. It is actually a law we don't enforce, but it is a federal crime. It is a felony to be undocumented in the United States. We choose to prosecute under the civil offense because it's nicer and it allows us to deport them rather than having to put them in prison and then deport them once the sentence is done. We actually have a federal code for illegal immigration, but that's why we deport them as a civil offense, is because it costs less money. I shouldn't even say it's a nicety, it's actually a nicety to the taxpayer because it costs less money. Because our other choice is to put them into a federal prison, of which we already don't have enough of. There's actually, I know that every pundit says that it's a civil offense, but it's actually a criminal one. There is a law on the books. Okay, but where do you draw the line, Rando? Yes, that's not always true, and that is correct. It really depends on the prosecutor. And see, that's what I'm saying. Which is why I think we need to better codify it. I'm not saying either one is a better option. I'm not saying one's right. I'm saying that these are our options and these are what we can do. And I don't think expediting the path to citizenship is always going to be the right answer. I do believe we need to allow immigration to happen. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we have plenty of room for people. Like, it's not a matter of having room, but we don't have the facilities for people. We already have a housing crisis in almost every major city. Even though there's whole buildings that aren't being rented out because people can't afford to rent them. That's still a housing crisis. And every time they put up a block of housing, somehow it doesn't help the housing crisis. Because those houses don't count because they're under the you know, what is the term? It's not HUD housing, but it's the reduced price. Yeah, and I totally agree with you, Exo. You know, that, yeah, there are people that are still in prison and will be deported after. And I think that's ridiculous because we pick and choose who we enforce this law against. Like, we either do it one way or the other. We can't take it case by case. That's why justice is supposed to be blind. It shouldn't matter if you're rich or poor. The law should apply to all equally. I mean, look at P. Diddy. Prove that race is trumped. You know, if there is racism in the justice system, it is trumped by money. And if is in quotes because I'm pretty sure there's a hefty amount of it. Please understand, I always put qualifiers in sometimes because in some places I've lived, there isn't racism in the justice system. It depends on where you are. You know, and Mr. P. Diddy got away basically scot-free because the two things he was convicted on carried no minimum sentence. You know, and I think it's very stupid that we can deport perfectly willing citizens. You know, they might be undocumented at this point, but we can deport them. But we can't deport somebody like P. Diddy or Epstein to someplace else. That, I think, is wrong. That we can't banish somebody from our own society. That we just can't kick them out and go, hey, I don't care where you go, but you can't be here. You know, I mean, that's the reason why penal colonies used to exist. And those aren't a good option either. You know, in my personal viewpoint, we're too soft on some crimes and too harsh on others. I think any exploitation of another person should carry a certain minimum of at least 20 years, if not 25. Exploiting somebody else, abusing your power over another person should be a 25 to life. The minimum should be 25. Yeah, exactly. That's another good reason. Why can Americans go to Mexico, Belize, you know, be an expat someplace else and retire, you know, live for basically free and still maintain their American citizenship? I mean, look at what freaking McAfee did. John McAfee. Wasn't that in Belize? And how ridiculous that guy was? And what he got away with? I could be wrong. It may not be Belize, but he was in some either coastal or something country, and that's freaking ridiculous. How he could just get away with that. I think also if we have one of our people that come to find out, you know, they're a massive criminal in some other country, I think we should be forced to take them back. I think we should be forced to have to deal with our own problem. You know, I think there's a lot of issues that need to be resolved by taking a good hard look at it without money. Oh, but we're not the saviors of the world. We've proven that time and time again. I mean, don't forget who put the Baathists in power in Iraq and who basically got Saddam Hussein in power. I mean, also remember, you know, we put Iran in power. You know, we destabilized their government so the Shah could take over. If I remember right, we're even responsible for Fidel Castro in Cuba. I could be wrong on that one, but I'm also pretty sure it was also the Marcos family we put in power in South America. I mean, most of these countries that we have problems with now is because we set them up. Every time we interfere in some other country, we screw it up. We shouldn't be telling anybody what to do with their country because we can't even figure our own country out. Oh, yeah, that is entirely true. But I also don't think we can dance around the point of illegal immigration. This allows companies to exploit them. I don't care that the immigrants are here. What I do care about is that they're being exploited, that they're being de facto slave labor. Oh, sure, no problem. Let me see if I can. No, wrong one. Yeah, I notice I keep getting a little louder because the music is getting louder. Oh, nope. I am perfectly fine with you, saying that. I understand when we're having a discussion like this, things might come out as being more bossy than intended. But I understood that you wanted to stop having the distraction. And you wanted to hear what's being said. I totally understand. And I even respect it because it means that you are getting comfortable with the conversation and comfortable with talking with me. And that's good. I want you to feel that you can say something like that. That I have no problem. I'm not going to get upset. But what I was saying is that with immigration comes a lot of problems that we need to solve. And I think we need to, and this is a harsh thing, I understand that. I think we need to give everybody that's in our country illegally amnesty. But we also need to, if we're going to do this, right, and I know that's why I keep bringing it back around to this, because I know I can pick your brain because you're smarter about this than I am. You will know a lot more of the nuance than I do because I get it in sound bites from, of all things, news media, or when I hear it from Twitch streamers, or not Twitch streamers, but other creators and stuff. And I know that they all have their own bias. There's no nuance to it. They have to go to the extreme. And I realize that there's a nuance because I think we need to give people who are here illegally helping out our country amnesty. They need to be able to come forward, get their paperwork because they're here, but we also need to freeze our borders. And yes, you've lived through it. I kind of got that picture. And you understand what I mean when I say we need to freeze our borders now. We need to stop people from coming in right now. We need to get all of our ducks in a row and have a better idea of what we're really dealing with. Because so many people feel the need to hide, whether they're legal or illegal. And we can't use coded language. Actually, technically, T-Row, that is bias. You can live through something and still be biased. It is bias, even though if you know something, because you're judging it from your experience, not necessarily from the true experience, because that's not the same one that everybody has. You just might have a more nuanced bias. I swear that music just keeps getting louder. Every time I turn it down, it just goes back to the same. That's how bias works. That's how you get a bias. Bias isn't inherently evil. Bias isn't even inherently wrong. Bias is just a thing everybody has because of their own lived-in experience. Being aware of the bias is what helps you understand, because you can't go at something without a bias. I've been through, I've lived on the streets. I never got addicted to anything. I never got shot at. Which is true, I didn't. But I also know that a lot of people did. I've been confronted by the cops I don't know how many times. And I've never once been arrested. And some of those times I probably should have been. But because I admitted, told straight up, told him honestly, I don't think the cop wanted to deal with me. Citizenship is one of the many problems. One of our major problems is that both sides of the aisle like to hold up immigration as a shield to shield themselves from greater scrutiny, from people to see what they're actually doing. They use it as a shell game. It's ridiculous to me. I don't like the bed there. I think I want it down here. Down here. Oh, I put it too close. I want to put it in the corner there. Yeah, it's going to make me stick it out, but I want people to be happy wherever they are. But the first thing we need to do is also realize that the countries they're coming from are problematic, not the people. Like, think about it. If we had, illegal immigrants from Iran right now, they would fall under so much scrutiny that it wouldn't be funny. But mostly they're probably just trying to leave their country. There'd probably be some of our staunchest allies within our country. But a few bad apples possibly could slip through the cracks. Exactly. What place isn't problematic right now? And that's why I think we need to freeze our immigration. We need to give the people who are already here amnesty so that they will come forward if they have a criminal history besides being in here undocumented, illegally, however you want to put it. And I say that specifically, besides. Then we can better deal with what's happening outside of our borders if we handle what's inside our borders. I couldn't. Yes, it does you no good to give somebody a hand up out of the quicksand when you yourself are still standing on quicksand. That's just going to pull you both down. And it's a hard truth that a lot of people don't understand. And sometimes with other problems, maybe you could infer who I mean by this. If they keep getting into troubles, maybe your help is enabling them to continue getting into trouble. If they constantly know they can have somebody at their back, being a bully for them. That seems like a dumb maneuver too. Is if you let somebody continually drag you into their problems, we keep getting into more and more trouble. Not that I think, either side in any conflict has no issues. Oh, there's not an innocent country. How big are you? You're way too big. There's nobody out there that's safe and innocent. I wish there was. I wish there was some country you could point to and go, that's the one we got to follow. That's the one that has it right. Because then at least we would have an example. And unfortunately, even as screwed up as we are, I think America still is one of the best examples. Nice, good. Yes, I do not want anybody feeling unsafe, which is why I'm saying, if I say something out of pocket or just gets on, that I say something wrong, call me on it, please. I won't get mad. Unless you call me on it, like, in a, terrible way. I mean, you use brains, but, if I'm being, it's like, hey, boss, did you think about that one? Think about it for a sec. Oh, you right. Because I don't want anybody to be, I jokingly say I judge, but I don't really judge anyone. Nice. And that's what I want. I want people to understand that, I might have some shitty takes. I very well might. But it's out of ignorance. It's not out of intent. It's never out of any kind of intent. I've had way too many experiences in my life. Right, and that's what I mean by a certain, I wouldn't say nationalist, I would say, yes, I'm always up for a good debate. I wouldn't say nationalist there, T-Row, because that has some very wrong connotations to it. Isolationist is, I think, more closer to what you mean. And I totally agree. I think we do need to be more isolationist, get out of everybody else's problems, firm up our borders. But also, I think we need to give everybody that's already here amnesty. Let them come out of the darkness and work together. So we can work together on actually making America great. Yes, the sweep our own porch, I absolutely love that. Nationalist, on the other hand, has let's just say, so, white supremacists have been using that nationalist title way too liberally, and they have no idea what it means. Like what it truly means to love your nation and want the best for it. That is what nationalism should mean. Let me see something. And do things that actually make our country great. Because we did have it on a right track at one point. We do. But I've also been to other countries. And America is still one of the better ones I've been to. If not the best one I've been to. There's places that I haven't been to, so, I could be wrong. But yeah, we definitely need to prioritize, one, our infrastructure, our education system. I mean, I just had a buddy get laid off from his state job because he worked for the Department of Education. And he was just the most recent hire. I mean, he was fresh out of college. And they fired him. I don't know the full story around why. But, I've seen people get affected by this. The only problem, T-Row, is also understanding how much other countries depend on our money. You look back in the 90s when America almost solved our deficit. Look at every other country's money. They were losing money because we stopped spending. We stopped having the deficit. They couldn't afford to use our money as a backer anymore to their money. a reserve currency, because we were just getting too good. We were literally bankrupting the rest of the world because we stopped having a deficit, because we started balancing our books. We weren't overspending. The problem is that, as Trump illustrated in the most asinine way, the other countries depend on our money, depends on our trade. We trade way too much with foreign powers. We can weaponize our economy against them, but they can weaponize their goods against us. This is what a global economy gets you, is basically the chance of having infinite trade wars. The ability to weaponize your economy because you have something somebody needs. This is bad because it means that you're dependent on somebody else for your goods, which, it's okay when you're talking about people to have others you depend on. When you're talking about a country where your people depend on you, what happens if you get pissed off at that country like China and how much goods we have coming in and out, from China? Guess what? They stop giving us stuff. We stop having stuff. Also, we don't know the true cost of what it takes to make our goods. We've had cheap food. We've had cheap prices for so long. We forgot how much it actually costs. Like, I hate to tell you guys, but I grew up in a time when they kept telling you to eat your vegetables. Do you know why that was such a big deal, 30 years ago? Eat your vegetables. It had nothing to do with actual vitamins and minerals and stuff. Vegetables were expensive. But now that we have an exploitable working class that barely gets paid minimum wage, and they can't say anything about it, we exploit them. They're basically slave labor. We have cheap produce. So cheap that we have secondary markets for imperfect foods. Really think about that for a second. The produce we have that gets put in our stores is the best of the best. We got so elite that an ugly carrot we wouldn't buy. Just really think about that for a second. Isn't that just crazy? There's whole memes around odd-looking vegetables. Oh, this one looks like a baby. This one looks like porn, or whatever you want to call it. We have whole memes around that because we're not used to seeing what actually happens in nature with our produce. There's whole sciences around packing vegetables in proper ways and how to make them look good. Like, we don't understand how good we really do have it still. That we can have, you can buy a week's worth of salad goods or produce, and if it goes bad, oh, well, I'll just get some more, even with the expense. We don't understand how good we have it. The very fact that we have, in America, what is it, 80% of the influencers worldwide? 60? We have the vast majority of them. Sure, I think Canadians are second. I could be wrong. I'm not real super on the numbers on that, but the majority of influencers, creators in this space are Americans, and I'm one of them. I'm able to do this because my wife can work and afford me to sit here and do this and pretty much not get paid for it. I get some, I get paid for it. There's a little bit of money coming in now. But it takes, basically what would be a middle to upper middle class life to even make it in this. Either that or else you're grinding away, sweating and slaving, where you got to have a job and you only have so much time to work on this. And so your content, quote unquote, isn't as good as somebody else because of the unfair dynamics of it. Why do you think most of the creators are middle class people, no matter what they say? They had the freedom to be able to sit here and do this. I understand where I am. Yeah. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean there, Rando. I agree that we spend money on way too much money on foreign affairs, so much so that the other countries are dependent on us. Is what I was trying to say with that. Like, even if we pulled our military power back, Rando, I came from such a poor background that I was working from the time I was 12. Actual job, Social Security, filing taxes for it at 12. I worked at a swimming pool as a swim aide. While also on the weekends, I had a job working at a trap range that would be illegal for somebody to have now. Because, you have a minor, working around firearms. Yeah. Trap, clay pigeon shooting, that kind of thing. Skeet shooting is also what people call it. But it's all the same thing. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's ridiculous that we live in a society that what education people do have isn't respected. It's always the education you don't have that they want. It always just seems to be a trick, unless you get into very specific fields. And America finds itself in a very, very precarious position. Like T-Row was saying, the amount of money we spend on foreign affairs and military power in other countries. Well, but if we start pulling back on that, countries start losing a lot of money. They're dependent on our foreign aid. They're dependent on our money. We pull back, you will create a worldwide depression all over again. And that might sound like hyperbolic until you really think about how much America gets. And yet we have one of the largest disparity in wealth in the world, even though, the poorest of us still live better than some of the middle class in other countries. Because they're paying for our good life. This is why, other countries want to come here, legally or illegally. Because our poorest still live better than some of their middle class lives. Really? Most dogs I know, friggin', like Scruffy used to just we'd have to hold him unless we took him outside and showed him to him. If we took him outside with his harness and everything, he'd just sit there suddenly he's all fine. But inside hearing it, he'd want to be hugged. He'd need his blankie and hugged and just God, I kind of miss that. Okay, more than kind of. And it's one of those things that I don't think a lot of people really understand is just how many countries, how much the world depends on our ability to pay their way. I did it, yeah. No, I was doing, okay. I'm sorry, maybe I got off topic there, but I have a hard time right? Well, and see, that's kind of what I was saying. It's one of the reasons why I detest letting people have fireworks. I think it always should be in professional hands. You know, that's some of the things that I think America doesn't realize, the freedoms we actually do have. And how in these tumultuous times it might absolutely be ridiculous that we let the average citizen just have fireworks. What, you want, improvised explosive weapons? Sure, no problem. Well, no, I just think it should be permitted for certain companies, and you get a city show. They put the money on, just have it come out of your taxes. That should be part of what a city does for you. And I need, what color was that? This is the hard part about going back to a house. Elegant marble. Yeah, those look pretty identical. Hope I'm right. Nope, that's darker. Oh well, already started. I'll fix it. But that's one of the things, the freedoms of being an American is that we have the freedom to blow our own fingers off. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. We have a lot of freedoms here, no matter what people say. Even if, some of them are nanny states, even if, like Washington was a pretty bad nanny state. They wanted to control everything you did. Like in Seattle, there was this actually that kind of looked cool to have the secondary gray. Like a 3-color wall. Yeah. When I was a kid, it was a lot of fun. You goof off, and then you realize how much damage you can do. Or some idiot decides that he wants to, scare the people because he doesn't understand the actual damage that can be done with even just a bottle rocket. My buddy almost lost his freaking eye because we used to do bottle rocket wars. For the longest time, he had the friggin' nickname of Ralphie because of that from, Christmas Story. You'll shoot your eye out. And it was all because, he let the bottle rocket go. It bounced off the tree and exploded right next to his face. Yeah, we really shouldn't have been, letting off bottle rockets in a pine forest, too, in the middle of July. Or in the beginning of July. Yep. I was out with my, the nieces and nephews were babies. Couldn't have been more than 20, 21 at most. No, I couldn't have even been that. 17, 18. And we were letting off a few fireworks, in a parking lot with the neighbor, because we lived in apartment complex, and so there was a bunch of people there, and we were letting them off in this adjacent parking lot that was okay to do it. Like, they were cool with it. Yeah, exactly. And these are the experiences that make me, why I don't think people should have it. It's also why I don't think people should actually be allowed to drive. I think driver's license should be illegal. But to compensate, I knew what you meant. To compensate, we need to invest heavily into our mass transit system. We also need to stop having social programs have to pay for themselves. Like, I am absolutely baffled on who came up with the idea that the police have to pay for themselves. Like, you're monetizing crime at this point. So if they can't find enough criminals and actually do their job well in deterring crime, doing the job and, reforming the criminals, well, then you don't have a police force because you can't afford it because there's not enough tickets and fines being put out there. So why should a police force ever have to pay for itself? I mean, you don't do that with fire department. I mean, when was the last time the fire department had to pay for itself? That comes out of your taxes. So why does a police force have to be different? Let alone, I mean, whoever thought private prisons was a good idea, they need to go spend some time in one. And I mean behind the bars. Whoever comes up with these ideas for these special prisons and such, especially the one that shall not be named right now, with a dumbass name that everybody's so proud of. I don't understand it. I don't understand why we can think that that's such a good idea. Like, do you really understand how bad, that really looks? That we're happy that we have a prison that looks like this? That we have so many prisons to begin with. That actually speaks to a whole nother insidious problem we have within us, that we have so many prisons. This isn't like, oh, we're tough on crime, we're doing good. It's like, why did they think they could get away with the crime to begin with? Why, let alone, why did they feel it was necessary? Because maybe they didn't think they could get away with it. Maybe it was a crime of necessity. Almost all crimes are crimes of opportunity. Well, no, every crime is a crime of opportunity. But you also have to wonder why the person is taking that opportunity. If somebody's stealing food, maybe they're hungry. If somebody's stealing, valuables, maybe it's because they have no money, and maybe you need to think about why they don't have any money. Let alone, the idea that, oh, drugs, it's their fault, they got addicted. It's like, do you ever think that maybe, why is the person escaping? Because all drugs are an escape of some kind or another. All right, man, you have a good night. Ha. As long as you don't crash out and break your ass. Don't think I forgot about that. It's funny to joke about after the fact. When the pain's gone and it's not bruised anymore, that's when it starts to be funny. Yeah, I'll bet, dude. I had somebody pull my office chair out from underneath of me once, not realizing that I would land right on the leg. Exactly. Just making sure everybody's awake there, Green Jeans. Yeah, wardrobe. Well, see, I actually get, I get a warning about it beforehand. I get to see that it's going to happen right before. Actually, you should too. Exactly. We think so little about why people do what they do. Okay. we forget that, you know, there are reasons for people to do certain things. And some crime is actually valid in a certain situation. Yes, it is going to be hard to scare me with my own jump scare. Because right before it plays, I see that you spent it. Because there's always a delay. Picture. Not paintings. Frames? No. But yeah, I mean, we forget that people do crime because of three reasons that I can think of off the top of my head. They think they can get away with it. They need to get away with it. Or they don't care. And most crimes fall under that kind of category. You know, the first two categories. They think they can or they need to. How about a tour of the house? That needs to be bigger. Bigger. There we go. Okay, well, so far we have the spare bedroom. We have the master. The master bath. Little cozy shower. Oh, I forgot to put a mirror on the wall. Give me 1 second. Pop, pop. Right. That is an entire possibility there, Ninetales. You catch me, playing the game too hard, you can get me. Last night, you probably could have got me towards the end. Oh yeah, what did you guys think of that? The 6-hour tour. Would you guys like to see Ghost tonight? Really? You thought that would get me? And besides, if you actually jump scare me, how are you going to know? Well, no, and I didn't expect people to stay for the whole 6 hours. My butt was sore after the whole 6 hours. What I'm asking is like, do you think Ghost and I should continue doing it? You know, because that game is a long game. The main bath, complete with washer. You know, because him and I already showed you this one. Okay. And this is the kitchen. Open space cupboards above, because I figure most of that's going to be easy to grab stuff. Yes, no dryer. There's not enough room because shower door opens. I mean, yes, it has two sides, but I don't know, it feels dumb to put it there. Yeah, I have a lot of fun at it. I enjoy the hell out of it. And I was hoping you guys, approved. But it's the first time either one of us have done anything like that, which is more surprising for him, not me. Oh, I haven't put curtains in here. Windows. What, the house? I thought this was the first place. You know, I enjoyed the hell out of doing it. I do. I played Pal World quite a bit by myself, but it's out of my price range, and I'm the one that put all the work into it. Light, narrow, short. That's what I've been using. They made it so I can put curtains on the walls. That's interesting. You know, and I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. We actually got a lot of done. It may not take us as long as I originally thought. It may not seem like it, but you know, beating the first boss in that time frame was actually pretty good. Having us both be able to do all the work like we were makes it a lot easier and a lot faster. Corridor. Yeah, those will suck. So, I don't know, it was just something I wanted to ask you guys because, I mean, I wasn't actually planning on stopping. It was just a lot of fun, and I think it was worth doing. But I also think it's not something that has like a storyline that people actually have to like watch the whole thing and keep up with it. Like when you tune in, you'll just notice the changes to the basement or the changes to our gear. Unfortunately, we will never be able to change the Chunkosaurus thighs, but you know, I'll live. The blender with bludgeon damage. A coat rack, place to sit down, put your shoes. You know, so you take your shoes off at the door. Put your keys up there, maybe a hat. Yeah, a lot of people don't understand a properly appointed mudroom, even though this is more of just a corridor, but you know, actually having a place to put your stuff is actually really nice. Can I? Nope, can't change the colors of it. Well, I tried to make my character look kind of like, you know, my avatar. You know, and he said we were going to be goofy, so I did the Smurf, you know, coloration because I thought it'd be funny. I didn't know he was going to go full. Didn't I put it on? Somehow they got it underneath the stove. You know, I think it was a lot of fun to play around with. I thought the characters were a lot of fun. I felt a little underdressed. Right? I was expecting him, yeah, exactly. I was expecting him to do something a little weird, you know, because it's Ghost. I was not expecting that. Still funny as hell, though. And I don't deny the proper idea for that. Proper idea? That's not what I mean. I don't deny that it was absolutely hilarious to do. And I really appreciate it. I don't know. I also think I expected, not. How do I put that? It's like it's not. I honestly expected it to drag on more because it's a building game. Nah, I probably shouldn't do that because I want to do this. Ah. And these are something I didn't know existed until this game. Vertical radiators. I think that's cool as hell. Well, I guess heating, but you know what I mean. And they're intended to make, to heat your home. And we're good on that. Good there. All right. Having that there now doesn't make sense. Random statement. Monte Cristo, the only sandwich I ask for a fork and knife to eat. Also, that is Britain for you saving space where they can. Oh, yeah. Why does it look like a. Okay. Now the exterior. I know a Monte Cristo is good. Now, Denny's never sold one, but I had a buddy that would make one for me if I'd ask him. And it was really good. And it's Grain Gene's fault that, now we just happen to jump to food. Yeah, I'm going to use a friggin'. There we go. Yeah, I think that's going to look really nice. Oh. Man. You talking about flan takes me back to when I was a child in northern Nevada. My buddy's mom would make flan. Good homemade flan. Ooh, enchiladas. Man, funniest thing. Okay, so this is how white my family is. Their recipe, that I grew up eating until we got to Nevada, the recipe of enchiladas included a can of cream of mushroom soup. Not saying they weren't good, but I'm just saying that's how white it was. And I know that's making a lot of people cringe and others just go, wait, isn't that how you make them? Yeah. Yeah, that's why it's so strange that I can handle the spice I can. Because I was raised white. You pronounce the H in it. And then, my next door neighbor, best friend, little Hispanic kid, invited me over and thought he'd pull a prank. And so he gave me these jalapenos that have been sitting in the back of the fridge for who knows how long. So hot, even his dad couldn't eat them. Because I guess when jalapenos sit in, pickling spice and whatever, however they were treated, they got hotter over time. And so this was like years they'd been sitting back there. They were almost white. They had lost almost all their color. And he fed them to me, and I was like, man, those are good. Can I have some more? And him, his mom, his sisters are looking at me like I'm insane. That I can handle it. And I mean, from there on, it was, jalapenos, then went to serranos, habanero. And every time every time a new hot pepper shows up, they had to try me out on it. Oh, can Mark try this one? How about this one? So I found out I can go all the way up to a Carolina Reaper. Oh, yeah. You're right. Yeah, my buddy's wife, she used to make this, and I'm probably going to pronounce it wrong, but ceviche. Oh, so good. And she'd make a special one for me, which had a blend of different peppers in it. No, I won't do that, okay, and I'll tell you why, because my oldest tried to keep up with my eating. So I make this thing that I call red ramen. Normal people can't handle it. There's so much black pepper and red pepper and whatnot in it that it crunches. The way I make it, it comes out solid red. Like, I have to make it in... Yeah, it would be the perfect prank, but also it's almost, it destroyed my oldest digestive tract. She now has acid reflux. So, you have to be really careful when you pull pranks like that, because you can actually damage somebody for life. Surprising me with hot sauce or hot food, while it may not get the reaction you might want, is safe. But if you were to do that to my dad or brother, you would reactivate their ulcers. And you could actually do some hefty internal damage to them. And my oldest tried to keep up with me and ended up making herself sick, is basically what I'm trying to say. Oh, yeah. I've thought about actually doing like a Hot Ones challenge. The guys that make the hot sauce. They get the celebrities on and do that. Oh, is it 11 already? Oh, crap. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to wrap it up. Holy crap. I'm sorry, I didn't realize what time it was.